If you're preparing for exams like the UPSC, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You open up that geography section and boom, there's a map with what, over 70 rivers, each one with its own network of tributaries. It just feels impossible, right? Completely overwhelming.
So that's the real question, isn't it? How do you actually conquer this thing? How do you get all of these systems straight in your head so you can just recall them in a second when some tricky question pops up on the exam? Because let's be honest, just staring at a map trying to memorize them one by one, that's a recipe for burnout.
But there is a better way, and it all boils down to one simple idea. A mantra, really, that turns this crazy tangled web of rivers into a clear, logical system. It's all about smart work, not just hard work.
So, how are we going to do this? Simple. We're going to build a mental map together, step by step. First, we're going to change how we even think about this problem. Then, I'm going to show you the one concept that unlocks the entire puzzle, India's Great Water Divide. After that, you'll see how the big Himalayan and peninsular rivers just fall into place. And finally, we'll wrap up with a strategy to make sure you've mastered this map for good.
All right, so what does this smart work thing actually look like when you're talking about geography? Well, it means we stop trying to memorize a shopping list of 70-plus names. Instead, we start looking for the underlying structure, the architecture of the land itself that basically tells these rivers where to go.
And this slide, this lays it out perfectly. Look at the hard work column on the left. That's just, well, it's just burnout waiting to happen, right? Trying to brute force all these disconnected facts. Now, smart work, that's different. That's about finding the one core concept, that single underlying pattern that organizes the whole map for you.
Which brings us to the most important point of this entire explainer. Seriously, this is it. This is the master key that unlocks the logic of India's entire river drainage system. It's called the Great Indian Water Divide. So what is it? Okay, think of it like the spine of the subcontinent. It's this continuous, high-up line of mountains and plateaus. Here's the magic. Any river that starts to the west of this line is going to flow into the Arabian Sea. And any river that starts to the east of it, it's heading for the Bay of Bengal. It's that simple. It literally divides the country's water into two basic directions. And this map shows you exactly how this massive feature is formed. See, it's not just one mountain range, it's a chain. It starts up in the northwest with the Aravalli Range, then it connects down to the Vindhya and Satpura ranges in the middle of the country, and then it just runs all the way down the coast along the Western Ghats. This whole continuous highland, that's our master dividing line.
Okay, now that we have our line drawn, the rest of the map just starts making sense. So let's start by looking north of this divide, at those massive river systems that are born in the Himalayas.
North India is basically dominated by three gigantic perennial river systems. And perennial just means they have water all year round because they're fed by both glaciers and monsoon rains. You've got the Indus system way out in the west, the Ganga system right through the heartland, and the Brahmaputra system over in the east.
And this table just lays it out so clearly. Notice the pattern here? The Indus and its main tributaries, the Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Beas, and Sutlej, they all drain west into the Arabian Sea. But the Ganga and Brahmaputra systems, with all their tributaries, flow east into the Bay of Bengal. See, the Great Water Divide is already doing its job, sorting everything out for us.
And hey, here's a quick, fascinating little tidbit about the Ganga. Right at its source, it isn't actually called the Ganga. It starts as two main streams, the Bhagirathi, which flows from the Gangotri Glacier, and the Alaknanda from the Satopanth Glacier. They meet at this sacred spot called Devprayag, and it's only from that point on that the mighty river is actually known as the Ganga.
Okay, let's head south of the Himalayas now and see how that Great Water Divide organizes all the peninsular rivers. It's actually pretty cool. This one single line neatly splits them all into two very different groups, the ones that flow east and the ones that flow west.
This visual makes the difference so obvious. The east-flowing rivers, like the Godavari and Krishna, they have these long, slow journeys. They drop off a lot of sediment and create these huge, fertile deltas when they reach the Bay of Bengal. But the west-flowing rivers, like the Narmada and Tapi, they have shorter, steeper paths. They flow so fast that they don't really drop sediment. Instead, they carve out these things called estuaries when they hit the Arabian Sea. And knowing this difference, that's a classic exam question right there.
Now, here's something absolutely crucial for exams. The people who write these tests love to ask for the correct north to south order of these east-flowing rivers. So while our system gives you the logic, the specific order is one of the few things where some smart memorization really helps. The best way to lock it in is to actually trace them on a map, from the Subarna in the north all the way down to the Vaigai in the south.
All right, we have covered a lot of ground, from the highest peaks of the Himalayas all the way down to the coasts of the peninsula. So now let's tie this all together into one powerful, simple takeaway that you can use to really master this map once and for all.
And here's a surprising fact for you. Even though Himalayan rivers like the Ganga and Brahmaputra are famous all over the world, it's actually the peninsular rivers that, altogether, drain a bigger chunk of the country, something like 60% of the total area. Kind of wild, huh? So, here it is. This is the core message of this entire explainer. Don't start with the rivers. Start with the divide. Once you have that line, Aravalli, Vindhya, Satpura, Western Ghats, etched into your brain, every single other river just falls into place on one side or the other. It becomes the anchor for your entire mental map.
And just like that, we've come full circle. That number, 70 plus, which seems so intimidating at the beginning, it's now just a collection of names that fit so neatly into a logical system. It's not 70 individual facts to memorize anymore. It's just one system with many parts.
So, as we finish up, here's a thought to leave you with. This whole method, this idea of finding the one core organizing principle, it doesn't just work for rivers. It applies to history, economics, science, pretty much any complex subject. So the real question is, what other overwhelming topic can this system of smart work help you unlock next?